Neptune has officially joined the Vancouver Surge roster. Today we're going to be discussing it. We got a little bit of gameplay on the left there, as you can see from the CDL. This is going to be Vancouver Surge versus Atlanta FaZe, and I wanted to highlight Neptune today and what he's done for the team, why he's been so impactful, and just kind of the overall structure of challenges. And do things need to change? Because a player like Neptune, a player like Hook, Illy, they just need to be in the league. They're just too good to be in challenges, and we can see it today. Neptune absolutely took over. So let's kind of go through Vancouver first and just understand what's actually happened in terms of the roster and why it's been so impactful. So let's have a look at the overall stats here. And I want to look at Hixie, right? Hixie had a 0.85 KD. Now, for Hixie's playstyle and the way he likes to play, I will say and try to defend him here, I don't think that his playstyle is very KD oriented. What I mean by that, he's not going to be the slayer. He's not going to be that type of player that goes through and wins you games by taking over in the slaying department, okay? However, for this team compartment, they are not a top 4 roster that can rely on one of those type of players, one of those route type players. I'll say Envoy is a bit similar in terms of that category of player. Obviously, Envoy I would say is like a pack-a-punch Hixie. No disrespect to Hixie, Envoy is obviously a great player. I would say Envoy is like a pack-a-punch Hixie. And let me go back to when Hixie won his first event with Toronto. When you had that team, you had Scrap and you had Kleenex, who were one of the best, both of them, 2 of the best slayers in the game, okay? So what we saw there was we basically saw 2 of the best slayers in the game able to perform, able to put out numbers and make it a little bit easier for Hixie to do his role. And, you know, we saw it work for a major. We saw them come runners up to champs, and then he got dropped. But in that period, I think his team had enough slaying power where the team kind of worked out. Then they picked up Envoy, which, like I said, was basically a pack-a-punch version of that, and they didn't quite have the success. But let's move on from that. So when you have Hixie in the roster, you need absolute slayers around him. I don't think this team have the slaying potential around him to allow Hixie to play his role effectively. I think he needed to play a bit more, like he needed to do a bit more, and I think overall the team was just really poor because of that department. But as soon as you bring in Neptune, okay, I know it's only been two series, but instantly a 1.11 KD, drastically more than Hixie, literally 0.2 more than Hixie. And what you see immediately, if we go through it, let's have a look at some of the stats here, right? Let's have a look at some of the stats. As we can see right here, let's look at the first one against Atlanta FaZe, okay? They were somehow able to win a hard point against Atlanta FaZe. The S&D, I think, was more mixy, and I think fair enough. But to win a control 3-0 and to win a hard point in the fashion that they did, I think is unbelievable. If we look at the stats here, it's not a coincidence that Nasty had a takeover series. I think people look at the stats, but they don't look at the other stats. When you have a player like Neptune, what he does, he brings so much pacing to the game. So let me get the pen out here to make it a little bit easier to kind of go through. But what he does is he brings so much pacing to the game. I want you to look at total engagements here. I'm going to do a quick calculation. I want you to look at this for a second, okay? Neptune had 93 plus 84. He had 177 engagements, okay? So when you have someone like that, putting that much pressure on the map, it just makes the game easier for everyone else. It makes the game easier because he's constantly applying pressure and pressure and pressure. So he's just able to make the game easier. Bro, this was Nasty's best season, best performance we've seen all season long. And I don't think it's a coincidence. Yes, it could be the honeymoon effect, but I really think it's just the pressure that Neptune put on. It made the game easier for his team. So for me, the debut series Neptune had was unbelievable with taking out Atlanta FaZe. But what was even more impressive was the next series. You could see, look what this man did on the next series, okay? Again, I want you to take a look at his engagements. Before anything else, I want you to look at his engagements. This next series went 5 maps. He had 110 kills, 99 deaths. He had 209 engagements. 209 engagements. When we look at someone else like Mac, 186, that is over 25 engagements, almost more. That is incredible. You can see Kremp had a really good series. He had 197 engagements. So even then, Neptune had 12 more. 12 more engagements is massive. It's huge because what you're doing is you're constantly putting more pressure on the opponents, allowing your team to be more successful. So let's take a look at the respawns. That's where they really shined, and this is very important. Neptune went negative by 2, but look how many engagements he had on the map. He had 67 engagements. If we look at Nasty there, he had 59. Abuza had 61. You see 04, he had what? He had 55. So in terms of pure engagement on the map, he is just having a ton of engagements, which makes him so crucial. You can see Kremp is very similar in that department. So one thing I would say is I think Neptune's pacing to the team just made it so much better for the team to play. You could see they won an extra hard point. They beat FaZe in a hard point. You can see their control has looked unbelievable as well. Let's take a look at the control. And again, the man is just frying. 38 kills in the control. Let's check out the control here. And you can see, again, no surprise, he had a 1.4, sorry, that's not even him. He had Neptune, a 1.33 KD. Both controls just absolutely frying. Both controls frying. So now their map 3 looks really, really good. S&D, you see they lost both S&Ds to Cloud9. Actually, no, they lost the first S&D to Cloud9, and then they lost the second hard point, but they were able to win the first map, win the third, and they were able to clutch up on the map 5. I don't really mind them losing the S&D right now, because I think S&D is one of those modes where it's a bit more teamwork orientated. I mean, I say that, but I feel like all modes are, so I don't know, it's a bit of a throwaway comment, so I'm going to kind of take that way, but just overall, I was really impressed with Neptune's pacing on the map, and the biggest thing I wanted to talk about is like, just a challenger ecosystem. I just think it's awful that a player like Neptune was stuck in challengers when he clearly is good enough to be in the league. If somebody watched the CDL this weekend and they saw these 2 matches and they said, who do you guys think is a challenger player? They, like, from Vancouver, they would struggle. They would be like, Nasty had bad, but then he dropped that number. They'll be like, maybe a boozer, but then they would really struggle. They wouldn't know. They would guess purely off stats. Oh, is maybe 04 or a boozer the challenger guy? Obviously going positive and negatives and everything, but you could look at this and say there was no one player that stood out in a negative way from Vancouver, and I think that goes a long way, and that's why I think that the challenger system needs to change. Neptune has been he's been fantastic. He has been very, very good. Again, look at the engagements. The man has been putting up pace. If they want to continue this form, I think they need to keep putting up that pace. You can see their next game is against Gentlemates. I think if they win that game, they start off 3-0, they have a very good split. Even if they lose to LA Thieves now, they have time. They have time because they've got 2 more weeks to go against Miami. I think they win that one. Even if they lose against Toronto, I think even if they lose against Minnesota, they have enough to make the winners bracket. I think they're in a very, very good spot. And I think it's all credit to Neptune joining the team. And I have to give credit to the team as well, because I think there's a lot of teams that could have made changes. If we look at the standings right here, like, I know they're ninth, but you look at, I'm not going to count Vegas right now, but if you look at 10 and 11, like, you look at them and say, like, any of them could have picked up Neptune. Even if you look up a little bit, like, some of these teams could have potentially picked up Neptune. So them acting a little bit quick, I think they made a great play. And overall, I think they're in a decent spot here. They're very close to Boston in terms of champs. I don't think Boston needed to change. I think their roster was looking good online, but I don't know, man. With this roster here, I think Vancouver, they're going to be on the neck of Boston. It's going to be a bit scary. I think Miami played well at the major, which gives them a little bit of breathing room. But again, if I look on paper right now, Vancouver versus Miami, I think I'm taking Vancouver. And I think Neptune is going to be the hidden gem for them. Hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll catch you guys for another one tomorrow. Peace.